So there is additional information that you get from looking at a chemical reaction. For instance, information that's going to be presented in parentheses tells you the physical states of the reactants in the products. The most common ones that you'll see are S for solid, L for liquid, G for gas, and this one's a little bit of a curveball because you're accustomed to thinking like the three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Now we've got this AQ, which stands for aqueous, not to be mistaken with what's the astrological symbol Aquarius or the Outcast album Aquemini. AQ in this case stands for aqueous, which means basically it's dissolved in a solution. So as you can see down here, the example that's provided is magnesium iodide, AQ, so that means that's dissolved in a solution, plus silver nitrate, that is also dissolved in a solution, produces silver iodide, which forms a solid, as well as magnesium nitrate, which is aqueous. So the way you could look at this would be 1 mole of aqueous magnesium iodide, MgI2. Notice how there's no coefficient, so the implication there is 1. That is going to react with 2 moles of aqueous silver nitrate, hence the 2 coefficient there. So 1 mole of this reacts with 2 moles of this to produce 2 moles of AgI and 1 mole of MgNO3. All right, now that shows your ratio, that shows the different species that are involved in the products that are produced. So an example of what that looks like is this right here. So what we have is kind of this progression. The magnesium iodide and silver nitrate are mixed together, and each of those are going to be this clear solution right here. But when combined, you see this white powder form, and that is your solid. That's our, I believe, silver iodide was our precipitate that we were forming there. So in addition to those coefficients and showing the states of different things reacting, we also can from time to time see something written above the arrow indicating something about the conditions of that reaction. So sometimes you'll see heat written, sometimes you'll see a delta, sometimes you'll see a wavelength or a lambda symbol there. In Gen Chem 1 you don't see this too often, but in Gen Chem 2 this is definitely a part of the thing to consider, as well as your higher level chemistry courses. So in this case, we have magnesium carbonate, which is a solid. That is going to decompose in the presence of heat to magnesium oxide and carbon dioxide. Now, one thing that you can see about this is that this is balanced and there are no coefficients there. But the key here is that heat, let me go ahead and get my highlighter, heat, which I'm highlighting right now. Look at that, that's a straight line highlighted there. Heat is needed to cause this magnesium carbonate to decompose into solid magnesium oxide and carbon dioxide gas. Without this heat, the reaction's not actually going to occur. Now, this is a nice little chart that shows you effectively what you see in any given chemical reaction. And what you're going to see there is basically, or you'll be able to answer these questions whenever you look at a balanced chemical equation. What happens? What is the proportion of the reactants of the products to one another? In what physical states are those reactants and products in? And under what conditions? So what happens? What's the identity of the different reactants in the products? Then in what proportion? The coefficients that are placed before those formulas, and in what physical states, solid, liquid, gas, or aqueous, are included after those formulas. Now, it's this shows it not as a subscript, but I would say more times than not, you're going to see something like this. And this is kind of subtle, but G like that. So it would be a subscript. But there's no like points docked for that or anything like that. And then finally, any sort of special condition that is required for this reaction to actually take place. So the addition of heat or something would be written above those arrows indicating heat's used. All right, I hope this is helpful. We will continue on.